Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm Malin for those of you who don't know me, and today I thought I'd share a 3-course menu with you guys, all vegan, super delicious and pretty easy as well. I did this for Valentine's this year and you seem to really like it, so I thought why not make one that's summer specific. So we're gonna start with some marinated beetroot discs with a cheesy cashew paste. Then for the main we're gonna make a super fresh but still very decadent lemon risotto, and to finish off I think is the most exciting thing, I'm gonna make an Eton mess pavlova vegan style. So yeah, I think we're all in for a treat. I'm really excited to show you, so let's get started. I start by making the marinade for the beetroot, so I combine some olive oil, lemon juice, salt and pepper in a container, and this marinade is very simple. It's just to enhance the flavor of the beetroot really. Once the marinade is mixed, I prepare the beetroot by cutting off the end and then peeling it. And I'm going to slice it very thin, and I'm using a knife here in the video, but if you have a mandolin it makes it easier really. But you can do it with a knife as well, just make the slices as thin as you can. When the beetroot is sliced, I just pop the slices into the marinade and I mix it well so the marinade coats the beetroot slices, and then I set it in the fridge for about an hour, or you can leave it longer as well. Any scrap bits I roast later or eat in another recipe. Then I move on to making the cheesy cashew topping, and for that I have soaked some cashews so they're softer, and I drain and rinse them and add them to the food processor along with some lemon zest and lemon juice. I'm also adding in some light miso paste, and this is to add a lot of umami flavor and saltiness as well. Then I add in some nutritional yeast and some garlic powder, and then I just blend it up until it's smooth. As always, you can find the full measurements and recipes linked down below. But to make this cheesy cream blend smoother, I add a little bit of water and I scrape down the sides as needed, and then just keep blending until it has this smooth consistency that you see here. Then we're ready to plate up the starter. It's really that simple. So I plate up some of the marinated beetroot discs, and I used 3, but you could definitely use more. And then I dollop some of that cheesy, creamy spread onto there. And I finish off with some fresh basil leaves, and I'm also using some microgreens to finish it off, but this is really optional. I just thought it looked pretty. This starter is super light and fresh for summer, but still with a nice creaminess from that cashew cheesy spread. To make this vegan lemon risotto, I start by grating a lot of lemon zest, and I just use my box grater for this, but you could definitely use a zester if you prefer. Then I chop up 2 small shallots or 1 large one very finely, and this sort of makes up the flavor base for the risotto, but it's not overpowering at all because lemon is really the flavor profile that we want to shine. And before we start cooking the risotto itself, we need to warm up some vegetable broth. And I'm using water mixed with some vegetable stock powder, but you can of course use cartoned vegetable stock, or homemade vegetable stock is perfect of course. So I just heat that up and then keep that warm while I cook the risotto. So to start the cooking process, I am adding some olive oil to my pot, and then I add in the shallots and the garlic, and I saute on a low heat just for a couple of minutes, or until the shallots turn slightly translucent. And then I'm going to add in my rice, and I'm using arborio rice here, but you could use any kind of rice that suits risotto making. So I measure it out and add it to the pot, and then I saute it for another couple of minutes until it's glossy. Then I'm going to add in some white wine, and I'm definitely no wine expert, but I'm using a crisp dry wine for cooking here, and that's as advised. So I measure it out and add it to the pot, and then I let it cook off so that it soaks almost completely into the rice before I start adding my broth. And I add the broth ladle by ladle and let the broth soak into the rice every time in between adding more. This will take somewhere between 30 and 35 minutes, so you need some patience here, or maybe you can do a sort of active meditation as you stir, because you need to keep stirring and moving the rice around as it cooks. This will allow it to get really creamy and lovely. And to circle back a little bit to the wine, if you don't want to cook with wine, you can definitely leave it out. Just add in the equivalent of more vegetable stock and you're good to go. Towards the end of the cooking process, you're going to want to taste your rice before adding the last bits of stock, just to make sure you're not overcooking it. You want the rice to be soft, but not completely mushy. So once it's soft, you can add in some nutritional yeast, as well as most of the lemon zest that you grated in the beginning, and the rest we keep for serving. Then I squeeze in lemon juice as well, and I season with salt and black pepper. I then give it a good mix and I taste it to see if I need to season again, and then it's ready to serve. Ideally, you serve the lemon risotto, or any risotto really, straight away once it's finished cooking, because otherwise it has a tendency of getting a little bit gloopy. Then to serve it, I sprinkle over the remaining lemon zest. I crack some black pepper over the top, and I add a lemon wedge or a couple of lemon slices to squeeze over it. You could also add something green on top if you like, to give it some more color. I like to serve mine with some roasted asparagus on the side, and yeah, that's the main done. To make this dessert, we need to make the meringue first, and for this I'm using aquafaba, which is the liquid from a carton or can of chickpeas, and I measure out the right amount and then pour it into a large mixing bowl. And the aquafaba will replace the egg whites in a traditional meringue recipe. So you will see this mixture now going from a more or less see-through liquid to a really fluffy white mixture, and that's what we want to happen. This will take about 10-12 minutes before it's super fluffy, as you see here. Then I'm going to add in some cornstarch, which will help the meringue to dry out in the oven. I'm also adding in some vanilla powder for flavor. I mix those two things in well, and then I'm ready to start adding in my sugar. So I'm adding in the sugar 1 tablespoon at a time, and I make sure I whisk it well in between adding a new spoonful. This all in all will take about 5 minutes or so, and you can see here how it really thickens up and it becomes really glossy. Then I'm adding some cream of tartar, which again helps with the texture of the meringue. So I add it in and I keep whisking for about 3 minutes, and then the mixture is done. As you can see here, it's really stiff and holds shape really well. I'm dividing the mixture into 5 piles on a baking sheet, on a baking tray, and then I smooth it out to make a disc that's about 12 centimeters in diameter. I like to make a little well in the middle so that the filling has somewhere to go later on. And then I'm going to bake these in the oven on a low heat for about 90 minutes. During this baking time, you won't want to open the hatch, but to check if they're done, you touch them, and if they're dry to the touch, they're done. Then they will want to cool off in the oven for about 4 hours or overnight. To prepare the topping for the mini pavlovas, I am whipping up some vegan whipping cream, and I'm using a soy-based one, but you can use any one you prefer. And then when the meringue is completely cooled, as you can see here, you can start to top it. And once you've topped the pavlovas, you will want to serve them immediately because they have a tendency of collapsing if they get too wet. So I spread the cream over the top of the meringue, and I'm quite generous here. I've chopped up some fresh strawberries to top it with as well. So I pop that on, and then I'm gonna also add 1.5 strawberry to each mini pavlova for a decoration. I'm also adding on a mint leaf. I think it looks very nice, and it also has a nice refreshing flavor, but it's not necessary. I'm also using some edible flowers, but again, it's not necessary, but it looks very pretty if it's an occasion. And this is my Eton mess mini pavlova to finish off this 3-course meal for summer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And remember that you can find the full recipes in the description box. Take care. Bye.